Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 4PlayerAnimecast. It is the 22nd of February 2020, and lots of twos here. And we are at episode 138. That's so we are, well, including this podcast and the next one, we are just two podcasts away from starting to head into the spring season pretty soon already. But I mean, I feel like honestly, it's already like spring or summer. I'm already going out in like my t-shirts and stuff like that, and my shorts. It's like what's going on right now? But yeah, I am your host Spire, and with me to cover all topics anime, I have with me Nier.
Hi.
Hey, Dark.
Hey.
And unfortunately, very unfortunately, Toast is feeling a little bit under the weather. Please wish him fastest of recoveries, but he will not be here today. He'll probably be back next episode, hopefully. No coronavirus or anything. No coronavirus up my hands. But yeah, he's out for now, and we're just going to be covering stuff. Uh, Again, since this is like what the fourth episode, or the fourth, episode pertaining to the Winter 2020 season, we're going to be covering some pretty big, heavy hitters. So get ready for that. Can't believe Toast is fucking dead. Anyways, let's start off with Nier. How's your past 2 weeks been?
Um,
A decent amount went on these past 2 weeks, right? I think.
yeah, pretty all right, you know.
Yeah.
Um, playing gotcha games, playing Shadowverse,
Which ones? Which ones?
all of them pretty much.
Oh god,
Play
I'm
Grand
so glad I'm
Order,
done with this right now.
you know, I kind of snoozed through the last couple FGO events, so
Okay.
I'm kind of like I should probably play this game. So I'm getting a little bit more back into it.
Right, right,
Um,
right,
Obviously, Grand Blue, Guild Wars stuff's happening. Anniversary
right.
stuff is coming up.
Mhm.
They're doing all these. Grand Blue Versus came out, so here's a bunch of free shit.
Right, right, exactly,
Now the
exactly.
anniversary is coming out, and they're like, here's a bunch of free shit.
Well, Granblue has
Side
never been.
games and their generosity, right?
Yeah, Granblue has never been like too down on like just giving out free stuff, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that their games are like super wow, so good, oh my god. But they're still
Bro, they're
uh,
so nice to me.
yeah, they're definitely much more lenient than say, just some other games, for instance, like by Bandai Namco and so on, right? So it's like
Yeah.
so
Been playing Arknights, sort of. I mean, it's kind of like my gacha game that I don't play. Like I have it
yes.
installed, but
You can play it.
yeah, I don't really
Like what?
mess with that too much. Um,
Bro,
Other than
you don't
that,
even need to play it.
still playing
The thing
Shadowverse, right?
the thing is like everybody's kind of been into Arknights recently, even like the people that aren't usually like gotcha players, which
Yeah,
is very interesting to me.
it's probably just because it's a tower defense game, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
super
guess.
easy for it to be like a time waster, right? Like even
Yeah,
people
yeah,
that are just like not really into gacha, they're just like, well, here's this tower defense that I can waste time on, right? Um, but yeah, Shadowverse came out with the mini expansion, the thing that everybody loves every time it comes out. Um,
yeah.
it's okay. Uh, I I had pretty high hopes for this one because like I'm pretty sure I've called out Shadowverse a few times
At least a
in
few
the
times.
in the recent episodes just because like
Yes.
this expansion's balance is really bad. Um, you know, every once in a while, Sly Games would be like, what if RuneCraft was unbeatable?" Um, and this expansion is one of those. And they tried to, I guess, sort of counter that, by
Right.
being like, "What if the mini expansion had Earthright rune cards?" And then everyone's like, "Yeah, but they're not very good." Um, and then they gave like Evo Swordcraft like this absolute god card, So now it's instead of runecraft
The fuck?
everywhere, it's
Yeah.
swordcraft everywhere.
Uh,
And I'm
honestly,
sure.
that's like almost as annoying because it's like sometimes it's just like with swordcraft and stuff like that. It's just like you just like the types of decks that oftentimes swordcraft makes is just, like you just bash your head on the keyboard
Yeah.
and then just like stuff just happens.
I mean, the problem with the Evo swordcraft, right, is it's like you have all the swordcraft like bullshit, right, where it's
Mhm.
like here are these well-statted followers that like pull other followers or summon other followers, and then you've got like all these aggression tools, right? And it used to be the swordcraft's like biggest weakness was draw power, right?
Right, right, for sure.
And now they're like, by the way, here's this card that fits into the Evo archetype, right? The evolution archetype, which is more or less,
Yes.
it's sort of like a mix between, aggro and control, right? Because
Right,
obviously
right,
you've
right.
got unlimited fucking evolutions, so you're a pretty control-y deck, but at the same time you're evolving all your followers, so you're pretty aggressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And before people were like, yeah, I mean it's a good deck, but it runs out of steam because you lose card draw, right? And then Side Games is like, yeah, but what if we give you a card that, what is it? I think it's 5 cost, right? It's a 5 cost 4/5, legendary, and it has ward, right? And its
Right.
effect is something like if you evolve like 2 or 3 times, recover 3 play points. So already that's a 2 cost. That is a 2 cost 4/5 ward,
It's a pretty good.
right?
Yeah.
And then it goes on, and it's like if you evolve like 5 times, restore 5 health to your leader, which is like fuck, right? Because you
it's like
can't
some
even like
again.
aggro the deck down because
Yeah.
they can heal for 5 with this
It's already becoming like
overstated
critical,
2
essentially.
drop.
Yeah.
And then it goes even further, where it's like if you evolve 7 times, which is by the way not hard at all for Evolution Starcraft, you draw cards until your hand has 7 cards. So it's like this one card covers every single weakness in the deck. It's insane. But yeah, you see sword everywhere now. You see rune
Yeah.
everywhere now. I really wanted. They printed like a new like finisher for Bloodcraft. Like there's the archetype where Bloodcraft hits itself X amount of times, and they get like this big follower that does a shitload of damage, right? Like Dark Feast
Right.
Bat or whatever. They reprinted sort of a Dark Feast Bat, but it doesn't do quite the same thing. It caps at like 10 damage now.
Okay.
So it's not quite as good. But the deck's fun. I wanted it to be better, but I'm having a decent amount of fun with it.
Yeah.
But
At least it's okay. Yeah.
yeah, just Shadowcraft and its balance.
I mean that's it's like usual like Shadowverse balancing issues, but
Yeah.
oh.
But
Okay.
other than that, that's about it for me.
Okay. Dark. What about you?
I'm playing Arknights.
All the Arcanites.
Getting some alright rolls, getting a lot of dupes, realizing I made a mistake. So I've been talking to people. I was like, I rolled a shitload for this banner for 2 characters, Ifrit and Aya, but my plan was, since they have like the sparking thing, but it never goes away for getting dupes and like new characters, you just get things called commendations, but it never goes away.
Okay.
And the new characters get put into the shop essentially. But I'm thinking now, I'm like, wait a minute though. Ifrit's in the shop now, and like we only have the 2 banners. When the character Scotty was boosted, I don't think she was in the shop. So I'm like, is the character that I planned on buying even going to be in the shop? I don't think she is.
What the fuck?
So I think I just fucked up. I think I just fucking spent all my currency thinking, oh yeah, I could just buy her down the line if anything. But
What the hell?
I gotta save
Okay.
up all my currencies now because I don't think that's gonna be a character I can buy.
Yeah, that's gonna be a little
Fuck.
bit too
Goodbye,
heavy, but
money.
Yeah, man. Support the games you like, you know?
Haha.
But yeah, Arknights is fun as hell. I wish I could play it. The way Arknights works is you wind up autoing like everything, and you don't have a lot of stamina in that game either. So
Isn't that also part of the stuff that you liked about what was it Kirafan, right? She's just kind of like auto everything, pretty much.
well, yeah, but I mean, for Kirafan, it's like the combat I didn't give a shit about. Like in this, it's like a tower defense, so I kind of want to run other stuff because it's fun. But
Hmm.
I don't know. It is still a very satisfying game to go through, where it's like
Okay.
um, you gotta like figure out how you're gonna beat that one level, and then you can just auto it if you need to
Yeah.
grind. So
Right.
that is a pretty fun aspect of it. Other than that, started watching a lot of stuff. Started watching an Asteroid. Started watching Somali. Re-picked back up Radiant from a few seasons ago.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's been pretty all right.
Pretty good. Pretty good. For me, I haven't been too. I mean, it's been an interesting, a little bit more hectic 2 weeks. Because I've started doing a lot more stuff. But on that, picked up Somali. Um, can we? Okay, can I? I just want to put it in, and I'll suggest this, but like, especially since Toast is gone, can I just have like, I don't know, a fucking. Okay, actually, I think I can do one call out and then cover everything. But I really want to cover like two things generally. One thing is I think, or both topics that we've discussed previously. But anyways, that being said, I haven't done too much again. I've watched Somali. I watched a little bit more Drifting Dragons. Actually, what is it? I started reading uh, Summer Pockets. If people don't know, that's like a recent visual novel that came out, and it is made by the same people who made Clannad. Um, so I'm like pretty much right at the beginning of it. I haven't gotten too far into it, but like it's like how do I say this? Like I know Rewrite wasn't made or it wasn't really like headed by Jin Maeda, but like
I kind of wish
after
Rewrite wasn't made too.
after after rewrite after rewrite I don't know what it is, but I always feel a little bit antsy whenever key slash visual arts are just like, yeah, we made something.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know, man. But this one is pretty much headed by Jun Maeda from his hospital sickbed. So we'll see how this goes. I hope it goes well. I hope it's better than Clannad or whatever, Little Busters, whatever. But it is. I will say it is very, very, very difficult to capture lightning in a bottle like 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Twice is already a B, but 3 or 4 times is definitely a very interesting proposition to go for. But yeah, so I'm gonna head through it and see how it is. Other stuff is like available too, but like a lot of my focus, I want to get it more back into visual novels. But yeah, but it is what it is. Anyways, with that being said, we are going to start going through our series reviews. First up, Dark. What do you have for us?
So I watched a show called Koisuru Asteroid.
Yes, and this one is like the trailer kind of made it look like it's pretty kind of like straightforward, or not like straightforward, but it's like kind of like kind of like whatever. One of those almost like short series, right? But it is made by Dogakobo, right?
It sure is.
Right.
And it is certainly a Doga Kobo series.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
What do you mean by that?
it's slice of life comedy school with like
Okay.
Yuri elements. Uh,
Is it? Does it have a lot of comedy? I do want
Not
to
really.
watch it.
That
Okay,
that that
because
is
I
the
thought,
thing.
yeah, the tone didn't seem like it had like all comedy all the time. Yeah.
It's a much like drier, like slower
Hmm.
show, like slower comedy bits.
Hmm.
Doesn't really like do much like slapstick at all or anything. It's more of word or like not even really wordplay, just like weird situations or something.
Right.
Or more like absurd things happen to the characters, and I'll get into that and whatnot. But basically, what the series is about is you have your two mains. Oh, Mal lists like 5 mains because of the club members, but there's really 2. And the 2 mains is Manaka Ao and Kinohara Mira.
Okay.
And the show opens with Mira and Ao as like really young kids
Okay.
in some like campsite. And Ao, they're like looking up at the stars, and Al like tells her something about like the stars, and she's like, "Wow, that's crazy."
Okay.
And she finds out she's named after a star, and she asks Al like, "Oh, what kind of like is there a star named after that you're named after?" She's like, "No, no star would have a weird name like that." And
Well, yeah.
basically, they make an agreement that like, "Oh, well, we should name something after you." And she's like, "Well, maybe an asteroid." Uh, So then, like, flash forward to her, I think, entering high school, and wanting
Okay.
to join a, uh, what is it, astronomy club. But the astronomy club got absorbed into the earth science club because they didn't have enough members. So now they're kind of split in half. And then by coincidence, she realizes that Ao is in that class.
Okay.
But she also didn't realize that it was Ao at first because she thought that Ao was a boy uh,
Oh yeah,
when
I
they
saw
were
that one
younger.
actually. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there's like that's kind of the way like some of the comedy goes. It's a lot of like flashback and then like sort of
You
sillier
you
stuff.
you were
Not really
you were
like
like this before, but now you're like this, kind of that
yeah.
sort of. Yeah. Okay.
Um and
What else
what
is
else
there?
was I gonna say? Oh yeah, yeah. So that's kind of like the pace of the show now is that, she joined the club and they're trying to like promote their joint astronomy and earth sciences club. Because obviously not exactly the most popular
Here's the
club in the world.
question though. It's like, okay, so you know how, like, from what I remember, right? I think I told like a similar sort of starting premise with something like Rifle is Beautiful, right? So convince me or don't, or not, that this one is worth watching more than something like Rifle is Beautiful.
Well, I never watched Rifle is Beautiful, but
You heard me
what do
talk
you like more? Do you like rocks and space more, or do you like guns more?
about it.
I like
That's really that's
fish.
really the decision you're making here. You
so,
like
so uh,
guns or you like rocks?
other than the trivia and like the sort of smaller like are there general sort of overarching bigger interactions, or what's going on? Is it like mini arcs with character development each, or what's happening here?
So I've only seen 3 episodes, right?
Okay.
So can't really say for sure, but it seems to be more from the first like 2 episodes being them setting up like a newsletter for the club. It seems to be more focused around the like smaller interactions between like pairings of characters, but overall that being glued together by something they're doing in the club at the time. So like the
Okay.
major thing they're doing in the club in this like first arc is they need to set up a newsletter. And so
Okay.
they essentially set up like a section of they wind up coming up with a section of the newsletter being like a manga, like an astronomy manga thing,
Right.
uh, to grab people essentially. But other than that, it's more focused on like the characters interacting with each other through the club, and that spliced in with trivia that I thought was pretty interesting because they balance astronomy trivia
Mm-hmm.
with earth science trivia with
Okay.
also astrology trivia,
Oh. Well, the I don't know.
which I
It's like
guess kind of like it kind of ties together just because,
I think the astrology thing is more just like I don't wanna sound offensive, but I think it's more just like the writer slash writers at this point just being like, Yeah, we don't know really enough about like astronomy, so we're just gonna start mixing with astrology trivia.
Yeah, like trying to just throw in some astrology too. Why not? You know?
Do we have
But
enough trivia? No. Okay, let's go. like,
yeah, but I mean, it is technically fitting since it's like high
yeah, yeah,
school
yeah,
club
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's kind of what I want to see more of. I have to see if they get more into it, but is them tying in the two, like trying to
What do you
like.
mean?
I mean, there's probably like enough trivia out there, like why. I guess, though, I guess it is more pure astrology. Like, how did this like sort of astrology belief come up? Like, what does it relate to,
Oh,
et cetera, et
okay, okay,
cetera?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
okay.
know, like there's probably like I assume that there's something about the stars that you can say like astronomy wise why people would have equated something to it astrology
Right,
wise.
exactly, exactly.
How the two tie together and whatnot. But overall, the trivia has been all right. You know, it's uh It's got like some scientists named. It's got the what's it called ones are a lot more clear so far to me, but it's probably because I didn't do a whole lot of astronomy in school. I did more earth sciences anyway.
Hmm.
But like a lot of the earth science stuff is a lot
I
more
think I
like
think a lot of the
straightforward.
astronomy stuff that's like at least in high school is a lot. I mean, even in college undergraduate is a lot more like um kind of going to the observatory. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and just kind of doing whatever. Like until you go into like astrophysics and stuff like that, I think a lot of that's just like observation stuff. you know what I mean?
yeah, because it's just like oh yeah, this shit is here. Like
yeah, exactly. Surprise.
yeah, it's like well, there's a planet. Can't really explain a whole lot about it.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so like the earth science stuff has been pretty neat just because it's, they find a rock and then they talk about the rock and talk
Yeah.
about rocks and whatnot. So it's been all
Riveting.
right. yeah. Yeah, it's very
Excellent.
exciting. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, someone like I think earth science is pretty cool. Knowing about the makeup of rocks and elements and stuff. So I want to see where it goes more. Uh, But yeah, I think this is an all right series. It's definitely a lot slower paced. Like it's not something that's gonna be like, the pinnacle of fucking
well, yeah.
comedy, but
Well, okay. So
it's still pretty
there's
good.
no character development, right? Essentially, like
No, there's
there's no
some.
like okay.
There's some like small character development so far of like Ao opening up more because she's a much more quiet person.
Okay, okay. But the focus is
Uh,
on a little bit more on the trivia. Is
yeah, the focus seems
yes.
to be more of a balance of the trivia and like
Okay.
some light Yuri stuff going on.
Mm,
But the thing that glues it all together is the trivia, more so than it seems character development. That said, like, 3
Yeah.
episodes in, so
Yeah.
it
Okay.
could have a slight shift to do more of that like later on.
Okay.
I would like to see that though, but I don't know. They kind of like play off like some of the character tropes as a bit more of a joke anyway. So
hmm
like Ao is so quiet because she accidentally said like fucks up her wording and like says shit that sounds perverted or said shit that sounded perverted when she was little. So got made fun of for it.
Okay. 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 That
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Okay. I get it. Um. How, how do I say this? Mm, as a well, I mean, I think it's unfair to compare it to previous Dogakobo stuff, but I guess like as like a general girls spilling out, dishing out on trivia and having the slight kind of like slow, very very slow development. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I mean if you want to see that, sure. Like it's definitely like audio visuals why I mean I would recommend it because I assume they're going to do a lot more like with the space stuff with audio visuals and everything. Because
Right,
there's
right,
already been a lot of shots that have been really really nice and a lot of, you know, scenes that have been animated really well.
right,
And
right, right,
just
right.
general design and stuff wise, like the character designs are very much like the Dogakobo character designs we always see,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
especially in the eyes and stuff. But I would say, as far as like budget goes, this seems a lot higher budget than stuff that they've been doing or stuff that they normally do.
Oh, really? Okay, okay.
Yeah, like just the
That's.
shading
I don't.
on
It's not like
scenes and everything. It seems
that's really interesting. That
pretty
almost
high budget.
alone in itself, I think, would make me want to see it because it's not like Doga Kobo was like terrible before, right? But it's like if you said they upped it for sure.
Yeah.
then I might definitely check it out. Okay. That's
Yeah,
pretty.
it definitely like obviously it dips a bit episode 2 and onwards, but episode 1 was really well done, and I assume it seems like they're gonna bring that back more for like a lot of the space stuff. So
Mhm. Okay.
it's gonna be really neat to see some of that. But yeah,
Okay.
I'd recommend it, especially if you're into a more like slow paced slice of life thing with some trivia.
Okay. Okay. Pretty good. Any last words, I guess?
You know, not really. It's just kind of like a really self-explanatory series, to be honest. It's not,
Yeah, that's what.
at
Again,
least
that's
so
why I kind of
far, it's not
asked.
doing anything that crazy. But I feel like it's balancing a lot of stuff pretty well. The comedy is
Okay.
definitely
Okay.
like some of the weaker part of it, but the more like calm slice of life and trivia and light Yuri
It's kind of
elements definitely probably
what
do it for
what's kind of interesting
people
to
looking
me
for
these
that.
days, because it's like what's kind of interesting to me these days is that like there's this culture that was grown where it's like now it's like if you don't have the comedic element to help tag on next to the trivia, it's like people are just kind of it kind of becomes like really, are they really just trying the trivia out, right? It's kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
Um, just because so many of the anime series that we have now, right, are that have the trivia or whatever come with that sort of comedy, right? So now we're just kind of expecting. We're just like, wait, you're telling me you're not having, you're not doing some sort of weird pun or slapstick after this explanation? So it's like I think that's an interesting downshift in tone, shift down in tone rather. So definitely an interesting thing. I'm gonna probably check it out, especially because it's Togakobo, and especially since you said it was a little bit of an upgrade. So I'll check that one out. Um, Near.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Uh, Thank you, Dark, for helping cover Koisuru Asteroid. Um, Also probably going to cover something pretty important as well next episode, and then we'll see how it goes. Especially since, unfortunately, Toast wasn't with us, so we have probably a couple more series that we need to juggle around here. But with that being said, Near, what have you in store for us?
I watched probably one of the bigger series this season. Um,
Hmm.
Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, or in Japanese as
Yes,
Eizouken
I would
Niwa
say it is
Teodasuna.
like the series of the season, right? In terms of
Um,
like general like internet presence.
I think it's probably the most talked about
Yeah,
outside of
that's what I meant.
like, Ishizuku reviewers, right?
I
Um,
mean, very different, apples and
yeah.
oranges kind of thing. Yeah.
Um,
It's the most talked about for the right reasons.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly,
It's
exactly.
it's the most talked about good series.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is the latest series from Misaki Yuasa, uh,
Hmm.
who's behind, of course, stuff like Tatami Galaxy, Ping Pong the Animation,
Hmm.
Kaiba, Devilman Crybaby,
Yes, yeah,
all
yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
I think his most recent project was Ride Your Wave, which was a movie um, about surfing and sea people, and I believe generally considered a very good movie. Um,
Hmm.
but Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, um, another very eccentric series, for which is mostly a I guess basically a love letter to animation and animators. Um, so the
Okay.
series is about these three girls, um, two of which have a big passion to be animators. They want to make anime, right?
Right, exactly.
And they join. They enroll in this high school, which has really wacky, weird architecture, uh, and they don't really explain it why it's like that. They kind of just said, yeah, it gets renovated a bunch, so it looks all fucked up. Um,
Okay.
and two of the three girls, they have this big passion to be animators. And the third girl, who is Kanemori Sayaka, the girl with the glasses,
Mhm.
the big tall one that everybody fucking posts on Twitter and shit.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, we could make money off of this. And over the course of the series, she gets more interested in the anime making process, right?
Right.
Although
Exactly.
she's more along like the computer side of stuff.
Mhm.
But the series is largely just about the passion that is behind the creative process of anime, right?
Mhm.
Um, basic rundown of the story so far. I think there's like 7 episodes. Um,
Okay.
but the basic setup is, the three girls, they get together due to, wacky, kooky circumstances, of course. And the
Right.
one girl, who's a rich girl actor, apparently, um, apparently her parents will not let her join the anime club. And so,
Smart.
yeah, it's pretty smart choice.
Honestly, that's the type of parent I would become. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Um,
Not gonna lie.
and so the girls come up with this idea.
Mhm.
Well, let's make a new club, right?
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
and so they go, to the teacher's office. And they're like, hey, can we make this new club? And the teacher's
Mhm.
like, well, what's it going to be about? Um,
Exactly.
and Kanamori says, film film class, right? It's a film club, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and she's basically like, yeah, don't tell them we're gonna make anime, by the way. Uh, and so they get the go ahead to have a new club under the guise of the film club.
Mhm.
And over the course of the series, the first few episodes, they're like, wait a minute, we have absolutely nothing in our club room, which the club room they get designated is a rundown like metal shack with fucking holes in
Right.
it.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
and so they go, oh, well, we need money to fix it up, and you know, we need all
Right.
this equipment, and then they need to talk to the teachers about getting basically equipment to make anime, right?
Mhm.
And of course they have to sort of negotiate with the teacher, but like, well, anime is film, and we need this equipment because we want to show that film can be in all forms, yada yada yada, right? And
Right. Right.
over the course of it, there's a bunch of trivia about um, the tools that animators use, like the kind of paper that animators use. Um,
So a little bit more on like stuff like the Shirobako route, and obviously a couple of other
yeah,
series,
a
right?
little
Yeah.
bit. It's a bit less trivia centric as
Mhm.
Shirobako. It's more of like, you know, uh, animation paper costs a lot of fucking money, huh? Um, and so they go like, well, can we just like buy a hole puncher that uh, basically punches the exact holes that you would need for animation paper, right? Like, wouldn't
Right.
that be good enough? I'm like, yeah, I guess. And they go in, they go about like the specific like pegs that animators use to like flip the paper back and forth, and they do the rundown of like this like the camera stuff they
Right.
would use to like to film cells and stuff, and like how they would film like moving backgrounds on like a still cell. There's a
Mhm.
bunch of like equipment trivia that they go through.
Yeah, and
um
obviously it'll be a little bit more detailed than in a lot of other subjects because of because of who's making it, right?
yeah, of course. Um and they basically, the first like I guess arc of the story is essentially them. They have to basically submit a project for review for the student council to basically get funding, right? Because apparently all
Mhm.
new clubs, like, they need to kind of submit that they're not a waste of funding in order
Right,
to get
exactly.
funding, and so they decide to make an animated short, right? And a lot of it is about what are the logistics, like how long can we go, right? Because it's only like
Mhm.
it's a 3-person team, right? And they basically have one like character animator. They have one like background artist, right? And then they have Kanamori, who's like doing uh supposed to be doing like coloring and digital effects and stuff, right?
Right, right,
Um,
right.
but the main animator, Mizusaki, it's like the rich girl. She wants to do all of it by hand, right? and a lot of the arc is sort of like, I guess, the clash between the passion behind wanting to do all these things in anime, right? All this, fancy animation and all these super detailed frames and stuff like that, with the like logistics and the reality of
Right,
money
exactly.
and deadlines, and like how hard it is to like color stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, so that's kind of like the first arc, right? Um, but yeah, the series is good. It goes through, there's a lot of like really good, just like animation detail, right? It's obvious that
Right.
um, this is a manga original, right? So it's obvious that
Yes.
like the original creator had a very big passion for animation, right?
Hmm.
And there's
I'm not gonna lie. That, like, looking at Eizouken, that sort of thing looks like the thing that something like Akunohana should have looked like. Does that
yeah,
make sense? Does
yeah.
that
I
it
mean,
makes
like
sense, right?
yeah, like the sketchy style, right?
Like,
Like
yeah, if they really wanted to make it a rough, dark, kind of sketchy kind of style, I feel like they should have done something like what Eizouken
yeah,
did.
like a manga come to life, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly. Fuck.
Well,
Anyways,
step
go ahead.
one probably should have been, making anime to begin with,
yeah,
not
Yeah,
probably. But
fucking
make
trace
an
a
actual
movie. But
series.
yeah, it's obvious that the original source manga, right? Like the author had a big passion for animation because there's a lot of just details, trivia, going um into like how important like a adding a single frame of um like a standing, like if a character has like a standing shot, right?
Right,
And say
exactly.
like their clothes are uh moving with the wind, right? Um they go into like how important it is to add like X amount of frames depending on how long you're going to be lingering on that shot, right? Like if it's a shot that's going to be looping multiple times, you want to, add, a few more frames so that way it doesn't look jittery,
But yeah,
like
the
shit,
action, because people
right?
are gonna focus on the loop,
Yeah,
right?
they're going to
The
be
details of the loop.
focusing on the things that are moving, and so
Exactly,
you don't
exactly.
want the pieces that are moving to be like skipping around because they're
Right,
basically
exactly.
missing frames because like the way they go about it is like the shot was originally supposed to be a pretty quick shot, right? It's just a
Hmm.
shot of the girl standing there, and then it's supposed to cut to something else, right?
Hmm.
And as the process goes on, they realize a lot of the cuts they're not going to be able to put in because they have to meet deadlines and stuff, right? So they think well, what if we just hung on the shot for a little longer, to fill time, and then the animator girl's like, well, I want to add another frame here, just so it doesn't look like shit, right? um
Right.
just a lot of little stuff that's like details, right? That's important to animation. um but the most unique part of the series is probably the stuff where they're brainstorming, right? Like
Hmm.
they're drawing up, concept stuff, or they're like doing storyboards and stuff, right? Where instead of them just like showing them draw storyboards, right, and talk about, oh, but wouldn't it be cool if like this happened or whatever, right? They
Hmm.
go into sort of like this like imagination like world thing where
Like,
the
is that sort of world visualized?
yes,
yeah,
so
Okay.
they go into this world where everything around them is like hand drawn sketchy style, right?
Okay. Very good.
And the aesthetic, right, is that it's all rough draft, right? um
Right.
and
This
you
is the
know
kind of shit I like to see, honestly.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
like as they're brainstorming, instead of being like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like this happened or this happened, they instead they like narrate what is happening, right?
Hmm.
um and as they narrate it, like you see it visually happening like around them in this like rough animation style. And you know the most like one of the most interesting parts about this is all the sound effects when all this like when they're in this like rough sketch mode. It's all done with the voice actors mouths. Like it's all
Oh,
it's all
okay.
like like if like a robot is shooting a gun, right? They're like bam, 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 right?
Right.
Or like a chainsaw, they'll make the sound with their noise, or they'll make
Mhm.
the sound with their mouth, right?
Right.
And that really impressed me, because the last like anime thing that I know of that did that
Mhm.
is The Wind Rises, right? Where all the
Right.
plane noises in The Wind Rises are done uh like with the staff's mouths,
Right. It's
like
not just some random sound engineer or
yeah,
whatever. Right. Yeah.
and it sounds cool, right? And it's just a unique little addition to
Right. Level of
the
detail.
sequence,
Right.
right? Where it's
Level. Yeah.
like it's not just another way to just like visualize like writing a storyboard, right? It's like we're peering into these characters' imagination, like their creative process, right?
Mhm.
And it's a really cool. It's cool visually. It's cool um in a way to like get a like a concept across, like it's sort of um just the process across. And they're interesting, cool segments, right? Like they're individual stories that like they kind of come up with, right? Like the
Right.
first one, I think the first one um is they're like comparing notes with each other, like they're comparing their rough sketch drawings with each other, right? When they first meet, um and they
Mhm.
see like this weird like half finished cockpit, right? um
Okay.
and so uh what's her name? Midori, the girl with the camo hat, right? She's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they had, a bunch of stuff around it? And then,
Mhm.
they start brainstorming of like, yeah, but like, what is all this stuff for? And it's like, well, it could be used for like construction, right? And then they go into the thing, and then they start like building this like robot, and it turns into like this airplane with like these these glass wings, and then they're like, well, but how would it like lift off? And they're like, well, what if we
Right.
put like a tail on it, right?
And
And
this
then
is all visualized again,
yeah,
right?
this is all visualized as them like
Exactly.
sort of like building it, right?
Right.
Um, and it
It's
turns
almost like
into
some of those like things where it's like in like documentaries or like in sometimes like news things where it's like they show you like how it starts from like this architectural like blue like paper thing and then they show you like the frame of the house being built.
yeah,
It's kind of like that. Yeah.
yeah, and then it's like the thing turns into like this dragonfly looking like robot airplane, right?
Right.
And then they go into this story segment in this like rough sketch style, where it's like
Hmm.
they're being chased by these secret agents, and they gotta lift off, right? But the jet that like shoots the thing out is broken, so they gotta get out of it and then push it, and then they have
Mm.
to, as the thing is starting to take off, they have to jump back in, and then
Right.
they
Exactly.
start to get chased by these other planes, and then um they figure the only way out is to do like this fucking Star Wars thing where they fly sideways, right? And they're
Hmm.
like, this thing's not built for that, right? So
Right. Right.
in order to do that, they get out of the thing again, and they hang off of the side in order to use their weight to make it tilt, right? And it's like it's this cool segment, and it just shows like, you know, they're thinking about like as this scene is playing out, like it's them like brainstorming about how like to use weight in the animation, right? Like their weight
Right. Right.
is influencing this thing that they would potentially be animating, right? And it's really cool how much detail gets put into like this like rough style animation zone, and it's easily the most unique part of the series, right? And
Do you think? Do you think having that sort of well, I guess it doesn't because well, I don't know because it's like not focusing on like contrasting it with something like a Violet Evergarden, right? Where it's like it's so focused upon having that sort of how do I say this? That sort of beauty in every frame, right?
right,
But obviously, I'm not saying like Eizouken isn't like doesn't look good. It does, but it's like not focusing on that sort of single frame aesthetic as much.
Some
Do you think?
people would disagree with you.
uh, do you think that sort of helped with kind of being able to run through everything? You know what I mean? Like having all the visualizations and stuff like that.
I think it's an interesting contrast, right? Because obviously, Violet Evergarden is an extremely well animated, beautiful series, right? Yeah, like it's gorgeous no matter when you look at it, right? Obviously, Eizouken isn't quite that. It's got scenes where the characters are a little more zoomed out and they got fucking smiley faces with dots on their face, right? But it's still well animated, right? And I think this series kind of visually shines the most in these rough animation moments, right? Because
Mhm.
it's you don't really see an anime that is like almost it's like animated roughly on purpose, right? Like
Right.
like it's not like when they're in this like visual style, like you're not
Mhm.
just seeing like keyframes, right? Like it's not
Right.
like
It's
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 not like they're
it's
just
also yeah.
showing like raw keyframes, right? Like
Right. Right.
the animators are animating like in a different style, right?
Yeah. It's also very hard, I guess very hard to tread the line between this is just a different style and like how we're going full trigger, right?
Yeah,
We're just like
yeah. I mean, honestly, like I feel like Eizouken's visual quirkiness is kind of
Mhm.
like it's basically like what Trigger fans say they like about Trigger series, right?
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
a lot of Trigger fans will go on about, Kill la Kill's like a visual uniqueness, right?
Right.
And
Right.
obviously Trigger series have a lot of like visual uh uniqueness, right? Like they have a unique style, they have a unique style of animating. Um, but there are moments in Trigger series where it's like, okay, like that's just like it just looks like shit, right? And then Trigger fans would be like, yeah, bro, it's like an art style choice, it's like Inferno Cut,
It's
bro. It's like
definitely a
no,
money
no,
choice.
it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
But Eizouken is out here being like, hey, we can make rough animation look really fucking good, right?
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it's like a huge love letter to like animation. Um, so in terms of like comparing it to sort of like a sort of every frame painting style like uh Violet Evergarden, I think it kind of comes down to how like how into animation you are, right? Because obviously this is an anime series about making anime, right? So
Mhm.
there's a lot of um I guess a lot of sort of knowledge of just the medium that you kind of
Right.
have to
Exactly. I
have
mean, the
to
experts are gonna pour in. Yeah.
yeah, right? Like there's some stuff that you kind of need to already like be interested in the animation process, like in
Mhm.
the creation of the medium, right? To
Right. Exactly.
just sort of like uh, appreciate or be interested in, or even pick up on some stuff that they had in, right?
Mhm.
Um, whereas Violet Evergarden, you can just look at it and be like, wow, right?
Right.
So I
Exactly.
think Eizouken is a bit more of a niche product, not only visually but just subject matter wise.
Mhm.
Um, but you know, I like series that are unique. I think this series does a really good job of presenting like its core theme really well. It's not too um, it's not too like story focused, right? Like it's not like uh, it's not about character drama happening between the trio, and they have to come together and overcome their differences to make the anime, right? Like they have some scuffles here and there about you know one character wants to do things hand-drawn, and the other character's like, yeah, but we need to do these digital effects in order to make deadlines
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But a lot of it is focused on, character banter, the animation trivia, and the comedy, right?
Right.
It's it's a good package. If you like more quirky, unique series, um, this is definitely the one of the series, right?
Mhm.
It's probably one of the more unique series we had for a while, um, and it's pretty good to boot. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Just check it out. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's good. If you're into anime, I think there's a lot you can get out of it. If you're into the anime making process, there's even more you can get out of it. And if you're
I think
if you're one of those people that just like series where it's like three girls in a club, I think you can still get quite a bit out of this, right? Um, it's
yeah,
it's a very versatile series. So
Yeah.
I think also just production in general too. Like if you like, because it comes down to anime, but ultimately, like for even for like a live production, a live action production, you technically should be doing things like storyboarding, going through those and seeing how they would play out, and then matching up essentially some storyboards with like some sound design
Yeah.
aspects and whatnot. So I think especially once later on when they start adding, the Sound Club girl, Domeki, that's where you would even get sort of even more crossover out of that than
yeah,
just anime too.
Yeah. It's uh
Also smart, to be honest. Uh, like I was watching the one of the episodes where they just straight up have an entire couple of minutes that is just the sort of like voice actors doing all the sounds with their mouths, but also going through the storyboards,
mhm.
animating the storyboards, doing like a what is that called, like an animatic or whatever?
yeah,
Yeah. So they were just going through that, and I was like, that's a really awesome, like, wow, that was a really awesome sequence. And then I thought about it, and I was like, well, that actually does cut work down for them too to make the actual show. But they managed to make it like the way they pair everything together really makes it sort of greater than the two parts essentially
Right,
that
right,
come
exactly.
together. I feel like that's definitely, especially one of the benefits of the more interesting aspect they tried to do or they decided to do with all the sound effects and everything in those scenes. I feel like if they had used regular sound effects, it kind of would have been a little bit less sort of like exciting or whimsical than it is.
yeah. I think it would have been a little bit less impactful of just how sort of important the process is, right? In
Yeah.
terms of just brainstorming. Um, but yeah, overall, good series. Highly recommend. It probably has something for everyone. I don't usually like saying that. Um, but like I said earlier, it's very versatile. Um,
Right, right, right.
I think you do get the most out of it if you are very interested in animating. Maybe you're also an aspiring animator. Um,
Exactly.
I think it's a good show.
It
Definitely watch
it's
it.
it definitely sounds a little bit more how do I say it? Dark chocolate in a sense than Shirobako was,
Yeah,
right? If that makes sense, that like much more like kind of mellow, like let's just kind of go through this instead of just adding other like sugars and kind of whatever like fluff to it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, pretty good. And again, this is one of the bigger series of the season, so please do check it out at least. Everybody's been talking about it, might as well, right? And in a good way. Again, not like Ishizoku reviewers.
yeah.
Thank you, Nier, for helping to cover Eizouken. What was the full Eizouken ni Teodasuna? Is
Yeah,
what was
Eizouken ni
that?
wa teodasuna, or keep your
Yeah,
hands
yeah,
off Eizouken.
you're right. Exactly, exactly. So that is the series, and I guess the other one the one I'm gonna be covering right now, is yet I guess another big name. Maybe not as much talked about as Eizouken, but still pretty decently big. It is a certain series, a manga original anime adaptation by Satellite Studios, and it is called Somali to Mori no Kamisama, or Somali and the Forest Spirit. So, premise is pretty simple. For the most part, you have this human kid, lost in the forest, picked up by an ancient golem who's supposed to be a protector of the forest, picks her up, kind of starts journeying around to find her parents. The two of them travel around to find their parents. Just like a standard kind of journeying series, like something like a Kino no Tabi or Spice and Wolf or um, Grimoire of Zero, stuff like that. And then along the way, they both get into a lot of different incidents. Talk to a lot of people, whatever. But there's a little bit of a twist, and that humans, where they're like in the regions and stuff like that, in the areas where they're traveling, are a delicacy amongst the monsters. That is, monsters like to eat humans. So she constantly has to sort of, wear a hood that makes people think that she's a monster because the hood has horns on it, and she has to kind of hide away and make sure she's not found out by monsters that she's a human, else she'll be eaten. So that without little kink in the plans, other than that, everything is pretty much a pretty standard sort of like little kid, big man kind of traveling around. So that's the basic setup of the series. And for the most part, let me get into the audiovisuals first. I think Dark and I talked about this a little bit before the podcast, but the audiovisuals are definitely solid. Satellite has never been like terrible company in terms of audiovisuals, and this one there's a lot of good stuff. Like most of like the 2D character, pretty much all of the 2D characters, right? Are hand drawn. Yeah, they're
Palette
hand.
is
Yeah,
nice too.
yeah. The palette is good. It's hand drawn. The 2D stuff is hand drawn. The background is nicely done. It's not just like very like blocky, kind of not blended well, stuff like that. Um, so very solid. Soundtrack is mostly mellow. Again, also pretty solid. Um, as for the story, again, pretty much 80%, 80, 90, yeah, pretty much all of it is like them just doing a slow life journey through the monster lands, right? Where they're in like a monster's like shop, they're eating food, they're going into quiet caves, all that slow like myth journey through the mysterious lands, right, kind of thing. But there is this interesting underlying tension, right, indirect underlying tension because of the fact that the kid at any moment could be discovered and as a human, and then all hell breaks loose, right? Because the monsters want to eat the human, right? So there's that indirect tension. It doesn't necessarily always come into play because, like as a viewer, right? Like outside of the anime, you kind of know that the author isn't just going to be like literally every episode. It's like, oh, they found out you're a human. Oh, they found out you're. It's not going to be like that, right? So the tension isn't like always there, but it's definitely like a sort of kick in the butt where it's just like, oh, by the way, they could be in danger. You know what I mean? So that's a very interesting dynamic to put in. Um, there's also the what is it? The like a whole like well, okay. So there's that going on. There's the two main sort of concepts that they deal with, right? Is the whole like uh first the whole like parent child kind of relationship, right? The big daddy golem and then the small like kid and how they have to kind of deal with each other. There's that sort of parent child concept going on. And then the other one is how the golem reacts to the kid Somali, right? As an sort of an inhuman creation, right? So there's those two. Before I continue with sort of my opinion on those Dark, what did you Nier? Did you watch Somali as well, or no?
No, I wanted to, but
Okay, yeah. Dark. So the two stuff I mentioned, right? Again, the parent-child relationship, and then the golem sort of being inhuman, learning to have the whole shebang, right? Um, centered based on those two premises, right? Um, how do you kind of see this series? Right? I'm not asking you to like rate it necessarily, but I'm just asking you to like. I feel like those are sort of the lenses I would view the series. Would I be wrong in saying that?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Especially like that's definitely a very strong theme in it. I think it does
Hmm.
it very well too.
Hmm.
Um,
It's a very like
especially the
yeah,
more quote unquote the golem learning emotions. I think
yeah.
it's a lot more of a clear process for the golem in that
You're right,
sense than
right,
a
right,
lot of
right,
shows do.
right.
A lot of shows just kind of like, do literally like one emotion an episode, whereas this is more like it's a
Is
lot
this what
more.
sadness is? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
it's a lot more of like the golem saying like, "Well, I don't want this thing to happen,"
right, right,
and then another character just trying like essentially forcing him to have like introspection in that sense of like,
right,
well, that means that you're worried, and
right,
then
right,
like that kind of gets layered on top of some other aspect, which gets layered on top of like something else, and it's less so than he's directly, at least as far as I got, because I got up to I think episode 4 or 5.
right. Hmm.
Seems to be more of just like, not so much gaining emotion right now as it is like a slow crawl of like understanding it at the very least.
Right, 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 right.
So,
So yeah, I definitely do. I think the closest analogy I can make to make it a little bit clearer for anybody listening out there is the way the golem acts. I think closest I kind of see it is like how star droids in like Star Wars act. You know what I mean? Um, where it's like they have these like sort of general human actions that they do and the human reactions, but whenever they talk about emotions, whenever they talk about interacting with people, right, not interacting or reacting, but talking about it, right, they're always like, well, I don't quite understand these human reactions but or interactions, but I believe this is what humans would do, and then they go into that sort of shit, right? But then they still do have those human reactions and these, you know what I mean? You see
yeah.
where I'm going with this, right?
Mhm.
um what they're saying and what they're doing is kind of like slightly different, but that's sort of how I think Golem is trying to the Golem is sort of sold. Um, I think there are two things that I find a little bit. I think let me go with the evaluation first. Actually, I think overall, it's a very, very, very nice series. Like, depending on how it kind of all pans out, I would almost already put it as contention as one of the better series of the year. I know that's probably a big thing, but and probably might not take it, but I do think it's very, very, very solid in terms of like what it's selling. I do want to point out like two things that I kind of wanted to see, not a little bit better, which was first I think the base premise. I don't know how it is in the manga original, but the base premise for the golem following Somali out of the forest and just protecting everywhere is a little bit whack. You know what I mean? Like the whole like achy heart thing is like one thing, but it's like because he's the protector of the forest, right? So it's like, and even the people there are like, wait, what? Why'd you even come out of the forest? You know what I mean? Like everybody else is like, okay, yeah, sure,
Listen, he's only got like a year and 100 days left. What
yeah,
the fuck?
exactly,
Like
exactly. So
the
so that
forest was fine for 998
yeah,
other years. Like,
exactly. Why not? So I think that was a little bit unfortunately not terribly well explained, although it's not like huge. It's just like something that I thought was a little bit funny. Um and the other one which is slightly bigger, and this is more of a first world problem slash first world complaint from me in terms of these sorts of like literary devices. So going back to what we talked about in terms of sort of the Star Wars droid thing, right? It's like talking about having these human reactions and whatever, but then when the droid or the golem is talking about them, it's always like, well, I don't quite understand why humans, or well, I don't feel this way that humans do, but probably there's a 65% probability that humans would do this, but so I kind of understand, but beyond that, blah 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 blah, all this crap, right? How do I say this? A lot of the times, I haven't read too many like modernist, like um, modern period, not like Western novels based around this. So my major frame of reference is through like stuff like Japanese manga and so on. But with regards to Japanese manga and so on, a lot of these like series, since yeah, a lot of these anime series from like time immemorial have been like the way they develop the robot or the way they approach the robot or the droid or whatever or the golem is always like, there's this, my heart is aching for some reason, what could this be? And this sort of like mysterious thing, it's like, is this sadness? And a very like, the impetus to act is very mysterious and it's very proactive, if that makes sense. It's very like, something is happening, oh, I feel something, I feel, doki doki, my heart is beating, blah, 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 all that shit. Like, what could this, what could my robot engine be doing? Blah, blah, blah. And it's very like proactive, plot driving motivation that gets the robot to develop human feelings, right? Um, I think that's a little bit, in my opinion, I think it's a little bit overdone these days. Um, uh, and I don't know. I don't know how much like other viable ways there might be, but I would like to kind of see some more like other, almost like logical slash more reactive way of evolving the character. Does that make sense?
How do you? How would
Yeah, that's the
you?
problem. It's like,
No, I'm gonna ask something. How would you compare this golem, like archetype,
mhm.
to something more along the lines of Elias Ainsworth from Mahatsukai no Yome?
Well, in that sense, it's like Elias is like, he still has this sort of like, it's
Because,
very, it's
like,
still easy to put in the human element in him, right? Because
yes,
he's not a golem yet.
but
So
yeah,
it's
but
like,
the dynamic is with Elias is more of that he's a monster, right? And
mhm.
he is putting on the facade of human emotion, right? Like he's trying to pretend to act
Right, right,
human,
right, 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 right,
but he doesn't necessarily feel that way. Like, do you think
right.
that sort of dynamic is a more original take on that sort of like
I think that
character
take
type?
I think that take leaves more room for the author to kind of have these mysterious provocations, right?
Right,
Mysterious sort of urges or whatever. It's like they could, like obviously this doesn't necessarily happen, but Elias could even just be like, well, out of just like a whim of boredom or whatever. So I don't know, but God just some mysterious forces kind of moved my hand that day, kind of thing, right? There's more room to write it off like that, whereas there's much less room to write it off when the thing you're talking about is strictly a golem or whatever.
right.
Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah.
Obviously, golem is still like mystical forces, blah blah blah, and you can kind of roll it towards that.
Well, it's
But as it
almost the
becomes,
opposite in that sense, right?
what do you mean?
In that, like Elias was a monster pretending like putting on the airs of being a human.
Right,
Whereas
right,
the golem is more like unapologetically like just trying he's just a golem and he's like,
right.
well, I'm just doing this shit out of, essentially what it boils down to is out of feeling like he just does what he thinks he's programmed to do in that sense and isn't
Well, no, no,
trying
no.
to like
Yeah, I mean,
because he said in like the thing where it's like he had like this aching heart or whatever, but it's like so it's like a lot of the motivation for following Somali instead of protecting the forest or doing basic protection for her when she's in the forest, right? Is through these golem, these like human feelings. human-like feelings that he births because of his like aching heart or whatever thing. I think.
Well,
he's,
yeah, that's what I mean. It's more of that like he's definitely experiencing human like elements and human emotion. It's just that
Right.
for him right now, he's more essentially putting identifying that as like these golem aspects of him
Right,
rather
right,
than
right, right.
human
Yeah,
aspects.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
for sure.
my question was aimed more like outside of just like not necessarily in the context of the monster being a golem specifically, but sort of more like the trope of monster like
Or in human
discovering
feeling, right?
monster discovering emotion, right? Like the dynamic between the standard trope, which is essentially emotionless monster, right? Like monster that just can't really comprehend human emotion, goes through some sort of emotional experience, and he has to sort of like come to grips with what he's feeling and like how the author goes about that compared to Elias, where he's a monster. He doesn't feel human emotion, but because he knows that humans feel emotion, he puts
Right,
on
right,
the facade of human emotion. Like
right, right, right.
like
Yeah,
the
this is
dynamic
definitely the
between
more
the two tropes, right? Like
it's definitely
Yeah.
the more basic trope, not the
yeah.
Well,
is
again,
not as
I,
original. In that
I think it's just again, from my perspective. Again, I think Elias and like having like a monster, like again, strictly a non-robot, right? Is is much easier to kind of be like, there's that mysterious spark. Whereas the robot trope, the droid, feeling trope, right?
It
Is
locks you in.
specifically, yeah, it's specifically designed to have that contrast, right? Before it didn't have consciousness, feelings, whatever, right? Or it was impossible to gain those feelings, even if like magic came in or whatever, right? Because he's a robot, right? But then through some process, the robot goes all doki doki, whatever, and gains the feelings, right? That's supposed to be how it is done. And that hump has always been kind of smoothed over by the whole like, oh, I'm a robot, but I feel this aching heart within me. You know what I mean? That sort
Yeah.
of thing, right? So that hump has always been a little bit um like it was understandable the first couple of times, like series like Chobits or wherever like did it, um, but it's like now I think it will be more interesting to see a more like almost like even by the end of the series, like the robot doesn't understand, but he has sort of constructed his logic to be like, hmm. So this is like almost like an observation based kind of like, yeah. So I figured that humans will act more productively this way if they do this kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of going, um, instead of trying to win the human over or robot over, kind of to the end, sort of like what Elias is like, where it's like, um, if I act in these ways, I think I find that humans won't cause as much ruckus or monsters won't cause as much and be much more of like an observer. I think that would be an interesting one way to do it. Obviously, this is not a subject that's like easy to create new ideas from necessarily just because of the restrictions. I mean, if there was some sort of genius idea, obviously I think somebody might have covered it before. But I would just like to have seen a little bit of a maybe even like a variant instead of just being like, well, I have some aching heart inside. You know what I mean? I would just like to have seen a variant. So, but other than like those two things, again, those two things are very, very much like first world complaints at best. I think Somali pulled a lot of it pretty well. The pacing is pretty good. The soul life plus a little bit of hint of danger is like pretty spicy there. The parent-child dynamic is done very, very well. I think it's great. It's kind of what I wanted, partly from something like Grimoire of Zero, with the little girl and the tiger or whatever. Um, but this does it very well. Audiovisual is good. Just like very, very solid series, I think overall. So um, I don't have much more to say to that. Much more to add to that. Sorry. I think people should at least check it out. Pretty decent series. Done by Satellite again. Very solid studio, and hope it continues like that. Dart, did you have anything you want to add?
I think either way, like this series can really end one of two ways, right? Uh, I think both would be satisfying regardless. In some sense. I I'll still be pretty mad if this
I
goes
still
so
think the droid is going to like die, and then like it's going to come back into like another sort of form again, like some Angel Beats kind of shit. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
it's hinting every episode both fucking ways. And it's like, well, listen, I don't want to have another fucking Sorry situation in my life where it's just like every episode just building up in the back of your mind, like we're gonna get to this bad shit at some point,
Right. Exactly.
and then it just hits you with it anyway.
Hmm.
You're like, fuck, like I knew we were gonna get here, but
Yeah. I think for
didn't
right
really
now
want to
though,
happen.
it doesn't seem like some like Gen Urobuchi kind of thing where it's like people are just dying cuz. You know what I mean?
Nah, yeah, it's definitely not gonna be like it's not just gonna like
Like so much sacrifice. It's not
throw,
gonna be
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
throw out everything. Like
Entire building explodes somewhere. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean the series is it's great. It's really cool. It's got a cool world. Got a
Yeah.
cool world, got cool animation. Uh nice art, nice color palette, a lot of pastel
Hmm.
stuff. It makes a lot of the monsters seem really unopposing, like non-threatening, even though they're like, yeah, yeah, man, I remember the old human hunts. Those were the days.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, do they taste good? It's like, all right. I forgot about that.
Ooh. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. You guys eat people.
Right.
I mean, really, it's not their fault. Like humans are like trying to fuck with them. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
well, we'll
Exactly.
eat you.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I thought that was cool. I think. What did you think about the episode with the woolly guys? Right, with
The
with the
Onis.
deer kid,
Oh, with a deer kid.
or like the
Deer.
rabbit kid.
The rabbit kid with a deer dad, right, or whatever it was.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
he's like one of the he's like a jackalope essentially.
Um. What do you mean?
I
What
thought
I
that
thought
was
about it?
pretty. I'm thinking, because I'm thinking like an episode like that's more alluding to. mm, I don't know,
You mean
maybe not like a
you mean the flower
grand
and everything,
scheme.
right? Yeah.
Well, that, but I don't know about a grand scheme of like humans coming back into the world. But I think maybe that episode is
No, I think
piecing
it's
together sort of like a hope for humans type deal.
well.
Maybe
I
like
don't know
the
if that.
innocence of.
Well, I don't know if it shows anything about the fate of the humans generally in the world, but I think the big takeaway from that is that the author is clearly willing to write in more and more supporters in terms of like Somali. So it's like I think that the biggest sort of obvious takeaway from that is like later on, like not even with like well later on if they'll make like similar friends or like they'll like Somali will come back to that city or whatever it is, right? And then what'll happen is like she'll be pushed to the corner or like she'll be like I've been such good friends with them, blah blah blah, and she will purposefully or accidentally whatever reveal her human right nature to one of her more trusted friends, right? And then they'll be like, oh, okay, so you're a human kind of thing, right? And I think that's one of the more obvious routes that they can go, kind of being like, yeah, I mean, humans and monsters can get along with each other even despite their history, stuff like that. I think that's one of the standard routes that I see in the future because of that example. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna be kind of like that. But yeah, again, check out Somari to Mori no Kamisama.
Oh, final thing I would say too. Do we know, or is it listed anywhere who did the ED? Like who did the CG for the
uh,
ED? Because I thought that that was really nice.
CG for
Or
the
is that just
ED, you mean?
in-house? Like, is that just satellite
It's
still?
probably in house.
I
Yeah.
just decided like
I don't
let's
think
use CG
Satellite
for it.
takes too many. Too many. Well, there's like animation production. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
Okay,
There's like
because I thought it
there's
was done really well. Like I thought it looked really good.
there's a couple of people that they've contracted to, but not sure. But anyways, So again, check that out. And yeah, now we're going to move on to the news. A decent amount of news this time around, not all of them that happy, but a lot of coronavirus stuff going around too, so we'll cover that a little bit later. First piece of news. Gainax announced on Tuesday that Yasuhiro Kamimura, who was previously the Groundworks representative director, became the company's new representative director on December 28th. Additionally, Yuko Takaishi Yuko, Kadokawa Anime Business Department Anime Production Division Head, Moriyama Atsushi, who was a King Rights Division Senior Operating Officer, and Usa Yoshiki, who was a Trigger Representative Director, Vice President, became the new board members, while Hayashi Nobuhiko, who's just like a random accountant, became a new auditor. So Kamimura was the assistant director for Dragon Ball 3, Mystical Adventure, and he served as assistant episode director for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, key animation for Neon Genesis Evangelion, and he's credited as an animation producer for His and Her Circumstances. Blah blah, all this other stuff. So this is after Gainax explained that it had held a special shareholder meeting on December 27th in relation to its former representative director Tomohiro Maki's arrest for alleged indecent act earlier in December. Maki allegedly committed indecent acts on an aspiring voice actress contracted to a production company he managed. Gainax apologized in Tuesday's announcement for the concern and trouble that the situation had caused. Maki resigned from his position at Gainax at the December shareholder meeting. The company's other board members and auditor also resigned on that day, so it was like a full, just like purge almost.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. Gainax was not necessarily in the best of positions from their whole production pace and like whatever they were doing previously, right?
I mean,
But
they weren't even like a company. Like they were just milking money off
they were
of
just doing
Evangelion's success, right?
Yeah, brand right.
Dude, they just want to grow some tomato.
Just
Yeah.
tomatoes.
And this is coming
Just
off
duty-free
of
tomatoes,
the I guess public crusade that Hideaki Anno, the creator of Evangelion, has been on in recent months about, all this legal stuff that he's been going through, trying to get money back from Gainax that Gainax owes him. He's trying to get IP licenses that they owe him.
Mhm.
And just a bunch of shit. And hopefully with this, like, basically the bigwigs being basically just fucking purged from the company. Hopefully Gainax is like the IPs they hold can be sorted out, given back to Anno, because apparently he wants to do stuff with like Fooly Cooly and Gunbuster, series that he basically wasn't allowed to touch after he left Gainax, right?
Right, exactly.
Series that he created. Hopefully that stuff gets sorted out. He gets, uh, possession of those like IPs. Because I remember, I think he wanted Fooly Cooly because he wanted to like give it to one of his like proteges or something, and see what he could do with it, right?
Right.
But Gainax is a fucking gay ass company, and they just fucked him over really bad, and he's been
Yeah.
in legal stuff with them like ever since, and hopefully this all gets sorted out.
It's such a I don't know. It's such a fall from when they were initially kind of starting and kind of making this stuff, right? It's just like
I mean, like, it's crazy, right? Like Gainax, they greenlight Evangelion, right? It blows up, and they become like the biggest anime company like out there for a long time.
yeah, for a long time,
And then
early 2000s here.
they kind of just like shove their fucking thumbs up their ass. They come out with a few
Yeah.
things, here and there. They basically just ends up alienating all of Trigger staff into leaving and forming
Right.
Trigger. And then after that, they're like, well, we'll just make money off of Evangelion merch, I guess. and keep
Yeah.
our company
And
afloat.
Gurren Lagann stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's sad.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's unfortunate because it's like the people there, I think at least people like working on like art and whatever stuff like that, were still like really good. Like even after Gurren Lagann, they had stuff, like painting Stocking with Garderbell, Dentalian, stuff like that, right? But it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's extremely sad. But unfortunate again. Hopefully they can get back their shit and work up a slow recovery. Although obviously in this market it's not the easiest, but
Yeah.
we'll see. Next, a little bit of awards news. First, Amazon announced a finalist for its Kindle Indies Manga Award. The first manga award sponsored by the company. Amazon states that the award's goal is to discover manga creators who bring a breath of fresh air to the industry. Reader popularity and judges in the industry, including Shoko Nakagawa, Ryogi Animation Committee, and the Comic Market Committee, co-representative Kaoru Yasuda, will determine the winners. Grand prize winner will receive about 18,000 US dollars or 2 million yen. 3 runner-ups will 1 million yen, which is around 9,000 US dollars each. Amazon will announce the results in March. The finalists and their works include, so these might be some stuff you might see in an anime down the road, right? First off, Isekai AV Satsudai, AV Film Crew in Another World by Gachanjiro. Ikkyu, Inkyu Kensakushi ni Naritai. I Want to Be a First Class Architect by Hisume. Karutobochi, or Gal and Lonely Guy by Yoru Asahi. Classmate no Tanaka-san was Skokoi. My classmate Tanaka is very scared by by Yasushige. Sachan to Ken-chan, Sachan and Ken by Hinata Ai. Sayonara Mo-chan, Goodbye Mo-chan by Chinta Marumoto. Hyakumen Sou no Shinobu, Shinobu of 100 Faces by Yanagi and Mashu Kitamura. Busukae Yokoso by Daiki Kono. And Furio ga Suki da Sensei, or The Teacher Likes Delinquents by Keigo Hayasaka. And White Birds by Maseo Nato. So congratulations to the finalists. Let's see who wins, and maybe we'll see these in like an anime or somewhere down the road. Next piece of award. The Embassy of Japan near Green Park in London has announced that it will be displaying the winning entries to the 13th annual Manga Jiman contest on Tuesday, February 25th, and again from Monday, March 2nd to Friday, March 6th. So this is like the project that the Japan Embassy ran in London to for aspiring sort of foreign artists to kind of draw manga, right? So the Manga Jiman 2019 winners are first, Heart of Gold or Some Other Metal by Tori Jones. Second, Kiyomi's Prequel, or I'm just gonna go down just like the rankings. Second, third, blah blah. Kiyomi's Prequel by Alexander Cook. Lastly, of Uther Address by Mino Ghosh. Shinju by Pamela Loken. Different by Isosa Ugiabe. When Sea Meets Sky by Dash Chow. Rose from the Dead by Edward Welch. Eighth, Balanced World by Danny Martin. Ninth, Let's Go by Orson Coupland. And 10th place, Bonds of the Sea by Enya Chong. Best Youth Creator, Cobra Effect by Samantha Dent. Yonkoma Award, Cookie and Pizza by Tai Law. Yeah, so those are the winners, and congratulations to them. Very, again, interesting. One of the main sort of foreign outreach, like foreign award kind of stuff that people are doing, from Japan to like overseas. Next, Kadokawa opened EJ Anime Store, a new online store for anime, manga, light novels, games, and merchandise, on January 30th. The store is targeted towards fans outside of Japan and is available in 17 countries and regions on launch, including the United States, Taiwan, Hong Kong, South Korea, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Kadokawa plans to expand the store in the future to 80 countries, including China. This same store is not planned to open in Japan, as Kadokawa already operates Kadokawa Store in the country. Duh. But yeah.
You know what's funny about this store?
What?
It has the exact, 100% exact same layout as Good Smile Company's storefront.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, no, I see it now. Yeah. The thing is, what I'm wondering is why don't they just make an English version of their site, like how kind of DL site does it? Is
For
what I'm wondering.
Kadokawa? I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
man.
I don't feel the need to be like, wow, this is an overseas anime store, guys. Just make an English version. Like,
I mean,
okay.
like it's weird because it's like it's specifically a merch store, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't know why they aren't just like teaming up with Good Smile Company, because
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
Smile Company has an English storefront, right?
yeah, exactly.
It's
They
confusing
probably
to me.
didn't. They probably didn't want to pay the storefront fees or something, or like go to that project. But yeah, I
I don't know.
still
I
think it's
mean,
not.
like I'm looking through this, like all these figures
Yeah.
are on Good Smile's shop.
Yeah. Really?
So I don't know. It's confusing to me.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
If
Next.
you want to directly support them.
Like, Kadako needs my money.
Yeah. It's like, you good smile. I'm going straight to Kanakawa, the good company. Yeah. But yeah, next. The official Twitter account for the television anime of writer Amahara and artist Masha's interspecies reviewers, or Ishizoku reviewers, manga announced on Tuesday the Sun TV channel in Kobe has cancelled future airings of the anime at the behest of the channel company's management. The regular quote-unquote version of the anime will continue to run on over-the-air channel KBS Kyoto and the satellite channel BS11, and the unedited quote-unquote version will continue to run on the premium subscription network ATX, ATX being like one of the main anime channels in Japan. The anime also continues to stream on various services in Japan. Blah, 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 Funimation, Anime Lab, removing stuff, blah, blah. But yeah, more fallout from interspecies. People being like, "Wow, interspecies were actually like, you
Is
know,
porn.
is pretty much
I
hentai."
would
Yeah.
love to have clips of all the fucking big wigs sipping their champagne until they see a clip of that roll by their screen of what they're
Yeah.
putting out and just spitting out everywhere.
But yeah,
Like we put what on TV?
Fly on the wall in that phone call.
yeah. But yeah, yeah, I don't know what else to say to that. That's they should have more or less
I mean,
sussed
I
that out.
wouldn't be surprised if we hear about some job loss somewhere
Yeah, pretty much.
of like management being like, "Oh
Some,
yeah,
some,
how did you miss this?"
yeah, exactly. All right. Next, the organizers of the 14th annual Seiyu Awards announced the winners of the Merit Awards, Kei Tomiyama Award and Kaze Takahashi Award on Tuesday. So Seiyu being voice actresses, of course, voice actors / actresses, of course. Merit Award, which is the award for the Seiyu who have contributed to many genres, including foreign works over the years. The awards go to Yada Minoru, who did stuff like Gigantor, uh, or he did Dr. Shikishima and Gigantor, Baikin Sennin and Anpanman, Geppetto and Pinocchio, blah, blah, blah. And Kosaka Makoto, who did Hiromi Oka and Ace Narae, Ojiro and Shinobaki no Kyutaro, a lot of sort of classic older series. Congratulations to those. And Kei Tomiyama Award, who is the award for the male seiyuu who has been active in every field, including acting. So Mizushima Yu gets the award. Did Toshio Otomo and Magical Angel Queen Mommy, and he did dubs for dubs for actors and stuff like that, including Sammo Hung and Mark Hamill, apparently. And Kaze Takahashi Award, which is the same as Kei Tomiyama Award but for females, goes to Fukami Rika, who did Sailor Venus or Minako Aino and Sailor Moon, Young Fang Lun and Macross Plus, Fran and Final Fantasy 12, and has dubbed previously actors such as Julia Roberts, Ashley Judd, and Sandra Bullock. So congratulations to them. But yeah, that should be it for the news, or just event news. A little bit on the people news side. Not, I don't think, yeah, not a lot of it's very happy, but please bear with us. First, the official website for singer Masayoshi Oishi, who has performed songs for Overlord, Handshakers, Ace of Diamond, SS Gridman, and blah blah, announced on Monday that he will undergo vocal cord polyp removal surgery, and he will take a break from singing and some speaking activities early April through May 6th. So please wish him the quickest of recoveries. Next, gangsta manga creator Kosuke revealed on their Twitter account on Wednesday that they have been diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus, an autoimmune disease. They elaborated that their quote-unquote joints and blood vessels became inflamed, causing anemia, malaise, and fever. One eye was almost blind. However, they explained that their work will continue, but slowly, and they have already submitted a new chapter of the Kamisama. I'm not sure how curable this is, but please wish him the best of luck in dealing with this disease, and props to him in terms of keeping up and even working a lot more with his own manga. Next, the official website of singer Mafu Mafu, an independent singer who has done like openings for stuff like The Moment You Fall in Love and Reikenzan Hoshikuzu Tachi no Utage, stuff like that. That singer announced on Tuesday that he has safely recovered after falling unconscious. The announcement explained that Mafu Mafu's staff found him unconscious at his home after they went there, a planned meeting on Sunday around noon. A later medical examination revealed that Mafu Mafu fell unconscious due to cardiogenic shock, which is also known as Adams-Stokes syndrome. But he is currently being monitored, but he'll come back. Please wish him a speedy recovery. Next, this is a big one. Voice actress Chiaki Takahashi revealed on her Twitter account on Tuesday that she will return to work next week after being hospitalized for acute appendicitis.
Ouch.
She explained that she suffered from severe stomach pains before daybreak the night before and was rushed to the hospital. However, her symptoms began to recede and she will return to work next week. So please wish her the speedy recovery and hopefully nothing bad happens afterward. Some of Takahashi's best known roles include Azamira and the Idolmaster, Mitsuki Hayase in Rumbling Hearts, Kaneko Sanjo in Terraformers, blah blah blah, Kirishima Aoi in A Town Where You Live. A lot of famous roles. Next, this is a little bit weird. The official Twitter account for Satoru Noda's Golden Kamuy manga announced on Tuesday that the manga went on hiatus in Shueisha's weekly Young Jump due to quote-unquote Noda's childbirth. The manga did not appear in this year's 12th issue of the magazine, which shipped on Thursday, but it will resume in the 13th issue next week. So he's waiting for his kid, I think. I mean, Satoru Noda is male, so yeah, congratulations
He's giving birth, dude.
Yeah, he's giving birth. He is giving birth. But congratulations to Satoru Noda, and I'm assuming again his wife for the new incoming baby, and hopefully it's all safe and you can get on with it. And finally, the Asahi Shimbun newspaper reported on Saturday that voice actor Hisashi Katsuta passed away on Friday of senility at the age of 92. Katsuta is perhaps best known as the voice of Dr. Ochanomizu in the Astro Boy anime series. He's voiced Louis XV in The Rose of Versailles television anime, Dr. Hoshi in Astroganger, and Professor Hideki Tobijima in Groiser X, and a lot of other stuff. So please wish him his family and friends condolences. Just a little bit of not like a shout out, but like a thing. There's a lot of shit that's been canceled. Nier can see this like list that's up right now.
Yeah.
You guys might not be able to, but apparently it's been spreading a little bit more in Japan, despite obviously all attempts to contain it. So a lot of coronavirus concerns. Mitoiku, Itomiku delayed her album. Okura Yue delayed her album. Bushiroad is canceling events. Animes are being delayed, like Infinite Endogram. Cosplay event canceled. Sony Bushiroad is canceling it, or Sony is canceling events. Idolmaster Bandai Namco is canceling events. Ghibli Museum is closing down because of coronavirus, just all over the place. So they're going. A lot of people are just going into full lockdown, and hopefully, it won't. Things won't stay like this for too long. Hopefully, but yeah. With that being said, we are finally on to our shoutouts and callouts. Everybody here gets one shoutout, and everybody here gets one callout. And a shoutout is one thing that you want to, pump your fist in the air. Yes, we got this down. Faith in humanity restored. And Call Out is the exact opposite. It's just like, why did this even come onto this earth? Just like, please, God, no. And both the Call Out and the Shout Out can be any person, place, or thing. So, I guess I'll go first. Actually, no. Fuck this. Dark, you go first.
Bro,
I have
come
a feeling that it's gonna go
on.
out. Yeah, it's gonna go
Fuck,
out
what?
because
Fucking shout out. I don't know. Whatever. Shout out to like I guess Blue Protocol dev streams. Like it's an anime MMO. That's like the only actual anime MMO that's ever been made at this point. And now you're probably like, wait a minute, that's not true. But it is. Because this is like the first game that's actually in this like, cell shaded anime style that fucking has an open world that's open and towns and shit.
Mhm.
And like I'm almost positive has the Holy Trinity and everything of like tank, healer,
Please. I
DPS.
swear to God, I'm so sick of fucking anime MMOs being like, you can just play whatever class you want.
Yeah,
if you want."
play whatever. It's like that doesn't work, bro. It doesn't work. Even if it's slightly less than that, whatever. Like I'm also though at the very least for, an anime MMO that actually has this sort of style that's open world and has exploration and shit, because there isn't one. A lot of games just make you feel claustrophobic. And don't have a world. So, um, this game looks promising, and I hope it comes to the West because the company, um, I forget who the developer is. I know the publisher is is Bandai Namco, but I don't know who the actual developer is,
Mhm.
unless that is also Bandai Namco. But I know they're hiring people specifically for this team for translation into English.
Oh,
So,
okay.
kind of obvious that it's going to come to the West then. So yeah, uh, very excited to see more of that. Looks real cool.
Okay. And,
Hope it's good.
and your
Uh,
Call
um, so very similar to my call out last time, I'm calling out devs again, game developers again, because like I've been thinking a lot. I've been watching. I've been seeing a lot of shit. I've been seeing a lot of stuff for World of Warcraft. I've been seeing a lot of stuff for Warframe. And there's just this trend for some reason of developers just not listening to their community because they got like some weird thing in their head, I guess, that, people who play their games don't actually know exactly what they want and they have to interpret that. But it's like, in a lot of cases now, I'm seeing that people are getting a lot smarter. They're thinking a lot more. They're talking a lot more about games. They kind of do know exactly what they want and what'll make the
right?
game better. In a couple specific uh, circumstances for each game, for example, you had a while ago for Warframe, people were just, shouting at the heavens for something called universal vacuum. And all it was your little floaty pet drone had a mod installed on it called vacuum that you could get. Which took up space in your mod slots on it and everything like that. But what it did was it made so that you would pick up everything. It would just suck all the items to you in a 15-meter radius or something.
That's
But
that's
that
yeah.
included health pickups, energy pickups, ammo pickups, on top of like the actual resource pickups.
Mhm.
So you would just run vacuum because that's insane compared to literally nothing.
Right.
Like having to walk over everything.
It's kind of
Uh,
reminds me of the old like vac hack kind of stuff, like MMOs.
yeah, everyone's just like, "Yo, can we just get this?" Because, then they introduced the dog pets, the cat pets, and other pets that you would take instead of the drones.
Mhm.
But they didn't have that. They didn't have
Right, right.
vacuum. Only one drone had vacuum. And so everyone was still using that. They were like, "Well, I want to use my cat, but I'm not giving up a 15-meter pickup radius." Like, uh, so then instead they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna give a mod to the other pets, another mod that does the same thing." And everyone's like, "Well, Why?
Right.
Like what? Like why? Like who cares? Like what the fuck? Like everyone's just gonna run this mod. There's no chance of anyone ever taking this off.
Right.
So why wouldn't you just make it standard? And then they got into shit like, they never like that's the thing with the game devs that do this shit too. You never get a straight answer. It's like, first of all, as a player, you should never be asking why.
Mhm.
Like why does this
Why?
exist?
Right. Exactly.
Or why isn't this standard? Like that should never be a question that comes up. That's not something you want to have happen. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just strange because then you get things like devs saying shit because devs always do, when stuff like this happens. And it happened to the developer for Warframe Digital Extremes when we were going through this, where, then some people on the development team start getting death threats, right?
Mhm.
And you're like, then people try and boil it down to, oh, well, it's just a game. And it's like, well, no one deserves to get death threats, right? Like, no one should get death threats. But you need to realize that
It doesn't come from nowhere.
you getting these death threats should kind of put a little light bulb on in your head. Like, how are we approaching this development process that we are fucking up so bad
Right.
that people are sending us death threats,
Right.
right? Because obviously it was a higher,
When was the last time that
influx.
happened? No Man's Sky or some shit? Or like,
Yeah, No Man's Sky, and it's like, well, why do you think? Look, I'm not gonna say you deserve it,
Why are
but
people mad?
yeah, it's like it's pretty obvious to us why it happened. It's one of those things where you can't, as a developer, say over and over again, because all these games do it. World of Warcraft is guilty of it too, where you're like, oh, we need your feedback. Your feedback matters.
Mhm.
We want to have a conversation. Like, think of it as a conversation with your players. Like, and if you ask someone, hey, I want to talk to you. Like, I want to. How do you feel about X, Y, or Z? And so I walk up to you and I start telling you like, oh, well, here's how I feel about X, Y, or Z, and you're just staring off into space, like, and don't say anything. You don't respond. You don't even like actually like look at me,
Right.
and I'm just gonna get like fucking pissed off. And it's like, you asked me to take time to do this, to give you this information, and you don't care. Like, well, then just tell me like you don't care.
Right.
Essentially, like, tell me to fuck off, and I will. Don't play the game of like, oh, well, we want your feedback, and then you
Exactly.
never listen to a single piece of it.
It's just like, again, it's like showing that sort of like hypocritical, like, you know what I mean? Like that mindset is like the biggest thing that will really fuck people up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially,
and it's and it's bizarre too because
yeah.
especially for World of Warcraft and like the gearing process now, right now,
Hmm.
you can say like people have a lot of ideas. They do. People do have a lot of ideas. Here's the thing that I come back to all the time with World of Warcraft now, and what I would propose to the developers of that game.
Hmm.
When someone tells you, right, your gearing is fucked up and it was better before,
Hmm.
and you're sitting there and you're coming up with the next new wild and crazy, wacky system that's going to give people, you know, 80% variable damage on shit they can't control, instead of what's now 40%, by the way, uh, of just, shit that's not in your control changes your damage.
Right.
Um, when people come up with different ideas or they tell you it was better before, and you try and make an excuse of like how your new system or your current system is really cool and really good,
Hmm.
think about the fact that your game had more players before. Your game was in a better monetary state before. You can't sit there and say like, oh, we know better. It's like, well, then why is no one playing?
Right. Exactly. It's just, it's just, it's just, it's just so ugly. I don't know. It's just like sometimes this sort of like again like the hypocritical nature of how the devs act.
Yeah, it's strange. It's devs making games for game developers or for
Right.
themselves, and it's
Right.
like, well, you're not the people playing a game. You
Yeah,
know?
it's like you're gonna want it. It's like no, not
Yeah,
necessarily.
it's like one of the classic things was, World of Warcraft devs saying, our gear is boring. There's not enough stuff on it. It's boring acquiring it. And I'm just sitting there like, who told you that? Who walked up to you and said, you know what? The way we got gear in Classic WoW, where I kill a boss and it drops one of like 4 pieces of gear, and I know exactly what gear is good for my class
Right.
and for my spec and exactly what I'm going to do. Who walked up to you and said, you know what? I wish I didn't know anything about anything in this game. I wish I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
Who walked up to you and said, I really want to have to run external like bot programs
Just to
that
be
will run
into
the numbers to figure
yeah,
out what the best gear is for me? Who came up to you and said that to you?
right, exactly.
I would love to know who these
Yeah.
people are that were so opposed to killing a boss and it drops gear and you pick it up and you put it on.
Yeah. It's really kind of I don't know, it's stupid. But yeah. Thank you, Dark, for the shout and call out. Nier, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm gonna call out Final Fantasy VII Remake. For its absolutely disgusting, butt ugly, fucking giant head summons. God damn,
Good
those things are
stuff.
fucking gross.
Good stuff.
That's about it.
Okay.
Shoutouts to I don't really know how to word this. So Red Candle Games is a Taiwanese developer. They've made 2 horror games. One titled Detention, which I bought and I'm too scared to play. And the other is titled Devotion, um, which is sort of like a 3D walking simulator horror game.
Hmm.
And if you remember a while back, Devotion was pulled from sale um, because the developers left a little cheeky message. It was basically, Chinese was the prime minister they have, right? Comparing him to Winnie the Pooh, right?
Yeah, Xi Jinping. Yeah.
Yeah. And some stuff happened. They basically got bullied into pulling their game from sale, which, to be honest, should literally never happen to any developer unless their game is some like really fucking fucked up gross shit. But even then, like, if an audience is there for the game,
Right.
I feel like the game should be up somewhere for sale, right?
Right.
But recently, Harvard went ahead and added both games to the Harvard Yenching Library games like preservation thing.
That's
Um,
pretty hilarious. Yeah.
which is good, you know.
Yeah, it's good.
A developer shouldn't like be bullied off of like selling their product for their political beliefs, especially when it's a political belief that is maybe Chinese leadership isn't so good.
Right.
And then again, it's not even really a belief, it's more of a fucking meme.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
crazy thing to me about the whole like debacle though was like it wasn't like the Chinese government was like, "Hey, you gotta change this." It was the Chinese people, like Chinese Steam users.
Oh yeah, no, that happens
Like,
all the time.
Yeah.
Warframe got hammered and was mixed reviews by the Chinese players because they had like Taiwan and something else listed as different countries essentially that you could select.
yeah,
And Hong Kong rather as a different quote unquote like account create like a account creation you could select for your
yeah.
location.
Like, it's fucked up. But good on Harvard for doing something for preserving games media.
Good on Harvard, not a phrase you hear too much these days with scandals,
Yeah.
but yes.
They can do one or two things right every once in a while. But games preservation, pretty important thing. It seems these days it's not something that many people care about that much, except for people that play games. Companies that release games don't seem to care about preserving their own products very much. So it's nice that at least some sort of legitimate collection is like being aggregated out there somewhere.
Right.
But yeah, it's just
Why
good.
Why would you
Good
need
thing.
to preserve your game?
Yeah,
The cloud will always be there.
Preservation of media.
Dude,
Nintendo
fuck
is
the
definitely not a
cloud
fan.
is all around you.
Somewhere out there, Nintendo is like, nope, nope.
Yeah, really.
Close the curtains. Close the curtains right now.
Fuck that. You want to play Super Mario Sunshine? Yeah.
You could buy them on our store.
Yeah,
It's
see
like
you, see you in 20 years when we sell it again for
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
$100.
You can buy that on our new platform, buddy. Like, fuck you. But yeah, games preservation is important. That's about it.
pretty good. Okay, so wait, that was your call out, right?
That was my shout out.
No, yeah. Okay, so your call out.
My call out was the Final Fantasy VII.
Oh right, fuck, you did your call out first. Excuse
Fucking
me. Yeah.
6-head summon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll go next. The thing I want to shout out, honestly, was I wanted to shout out sort of older games. I don't know, like recently I've had this like hankering to play like like weird shit like Roller Coaster Tycoon, you know what I mean? Like very like it's like older like random shit I used to play back when I was young, and I still get like decent enjoyment out of them, and that was really nice. And
Truly
so
the millennials' midlife crisis.
yeah, which games? But yeah, so I went back and I played them. I might play some other stuff, but yeah, it's been pretty interesting. Now I just want an actual like, better Pokemon to come out, but whatever. But not with where Game Freaks is heading. But
Yeah.
that was sort of my shout out to like older games where I was just kind of playing them. It's not like retro stuff. It's just like older games when I was playing where I was young. It's not like I like really want to see like pixel art. It's just like older games. So that was pretty enjoyable. And my call out, and the reason why I went last, because I know this is gonna spiral out of control. Fuck. Honestly, I wanted 2 shoutouts, dude. Cause I wanted to talk about the you know how we had that conversation about the light novels being late? I literally, you saw the news listing I put below the coronavirus thing, right?
Yeah.
About the Orashira.
Yeah.
Being so I want to say I want to do like a fucking call out to like shitty authors and their fan bases. Is that okay with you guys?
Go for it,
It's
bro.
like okay, so
It's probably
it's
like
gonna
the
be
4th time you've done this exact call out.
pretty much. So I'm gonna generalize it because I want to cover 2 main things. It's like one is this thing where we talk about where it's like I was talking about with this with Dark Near, pretty much everybody where it's like people were just like so surprised that it, like for instance like Infinite Stratos, right? Infinite Stratos, when did they first come out? Like late 2000s or something like that, right? Like so ridiculous shit like that, right?
Yeah.
And it still has not finished printing. By the way, the last volume is yet to be decided on when it's come out. The 13th volume, which will be the last volume. The 12th volume, the second to last volume that has come out, came out in 2018. And I saw this also where Oreshira, which is Ore no kanajo to okusana nejimi ga shuraba sugiru. My girlfriend, my childhood friend, is in like a fight or whatever the localization is, right?
This
Oreshira.
series fucking sucks ass, by the way.
Yeah. So it was revealed on Tuesday that the author will publish a 14th novel volume for the series, almost 3 years after the previous 13th volume debuted on September 2017. So I'm not saying that people need to be like publishing a volume every year or something like that. Boom, boom, just on it. Just fuck your creative juices. Just publish it. But I'm gonna venture a guess, right? And I hope it's an educated guess, right? That I think light novels like Orishura and Infinite Stratos don't take 2-3 years to think out an entire extra volume. Is this okay to be like assume, right?
Fire.
Am I okay to assume that sort of thing, right?
Spire, I'm a Berserk fan.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no period of time too long.
Right. At least the good thing is, like, at least with Berserk, right? You know that the author is literally just saying in your face, "Yeah, fuck off. I'm playing Idol Master Game." Like, but like with these guys, they're just like they literally just drop off the face of the planet, right? Maybe they're even tweeting. Who knows? But it's like 3 years on, and it's just like, by the way, I'm gonna release this like, and it's like again, it's not like it's some sort of like graduate, physics textbook, right? It's like it's a freaking light novel of a rom-com. So why are you taking 3 years to write this shit?
Been
Like
thinking hard, man.
thinking hard about that romance.
Yeah, who knows what's gonna happen in Infinite Stratos,
Full Hemingway right here. But that was one example, and the other example that I really wanted to talk about was that this is the more important one, was that I think how many I talked about this in a couple podcasts ago, right? Where I talked about how my like one of my callouts was was to Gotobu no Hanami Omes and its fan base, right? Because I usually like when there are bad series, right? Like or when there are like mediocre whatever, like I don't give a fuck series, right? People know like I don't really pay attention to them and I don't care, right? Like what is it like Twin Star Exorcist or whatever it was, right? Or Absolute Duo or all this shit like Asterisk or Rakudai Kishi, all this crap, right? Nobody was really like,
All of Toast's favorite series.
yeah, I mean Toast is a memer, but like beyond that, like nobody was seriously like, wow, Rakudai Kishi, like that's up there, you know what I mean? Like some Family Feud, it's up there kind of shit, right? It's like nobody was like that, right? So I didn't give a fuck, right? Because it was bad, everybody knew it was bad, and the logic is sound, all's right with them. But for some reason, just like the way Gotobun did its quote unquote plot twist, like wow, it's so my god, he's gonna choose me or you tomorrow, blah 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 blah. All this kind of crap made everybody talk about Gotobun as if it was the best thing since sliced bread, as if it was just like no, but this rom-com writer got it right, kind of thing. And literally, like as I looked, I'm just like, there's nothing special about it. And like Nier and Dark can both back me up on this. It's literally from the start, I was like, no, this ending's gonna be pretty obvious. It's just gonna split, right? It's gonna be like a non-ending, or like it's gonna be first girl or some
I
shit
mean,
like
it
that,
should
right?
have been obvious from the fact that the series started with a flash forward. Like,
Right,
that's like the
exactly.
biggest red flag you could possibly imagine for
Or like,
a rom-com series, right?
yeah, I mean, and it was like again, it was not like the premise itself was terribly imaginative, right? Like it was set in a quote unquote different context. Wow, tutor with 5 girls. But what about the actual setup? What about the actual girls or whatever was imaginative, right? Like none of them had like super interesting conversations, whatever, right? Like there were no unique interactions that I knew of, right? But everybody's just like, oh no, this is the one. This is so good. This is oh my god. Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like all this time I've been like holding it in because I wasn't 100% sure, obviously, because didn't end, right? Uh, I was just like, this is not gonna be nothing. And then the ending came. Spoiler alert, I guess. Although if you're really upset about spoilers to Kotobuin, I don't know what to tell you. But you should probably not be watching this podcast. But Kotobu's ending ends up with this like dream sequence, essentially, right? Where it's like he dreams sort of the fourth girl, the Yotsuba girl, right? Who is sort of like the quote unquote dark horse pick in a sense, um, is walking up and doing the wedding ceremony, blah, 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 and he wakes up from the dream, and then in the real world, quote unquote, right, in the actual like real time world, he's just faced by the five girls, and he's just like, oh man, quintuplets, what can you do? Blah blah, blah, right?
Yeah, he looks into the camera and says, "Women."
Yeah, women, man, what can you do? But it's like, so the author from this, it's very evident to me that he just hedged bets in a very cardinal manner, right? Because he shows Yotsuba, the dark horse girl, in the dream sequence, being like, oh man, what if it was that girl? And just like, like I can be edgy and unique too. But then it's specifically a dream sequence, and then it cuts to all the girls at the end because he didn't obviously want to receive hate mail or whatever, right? So he was like, yeah, but it could actually be anyone. You know what I mean? You know that sort of
Yep.
hedging the bets, right? So literally the moment I saw that, I just exploded. I was just like, no, 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 no. Fuck everybody that like, oh my god, you don't understand. This author's good, man. You don't get it. And it's like, just don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. Don't DM me. Don't comment on Matono. Like, stop, like, breathing. Like, just, it was, like, it was so upsetting. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, this is kind of shit that makes it so hard to, like, for me, because, again, people know that I'm not, like, I guess I'm a slight defender of harem, right? But in the sense that I believe that it's a tool. That is all it is. Like, it's not good or bad. It's like a tool. A lot of times it's like a fucked up crutch, and it's like it can lead to stupid places, right? But I believe there are series that can use the harem, and go to good places with it. You know what I mean? Um, but it's very hard to defend when shit like this happens. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
so hard to defend. Again, it's like what I talked about. It's like that one Chris Rock sketch about him trying to defend modern rap, right? It's like it's okay if it's like Grandmaster Flash, the old like Tupac, whatever. But I can't defend freaking like modern stuff where it's just like what I mean, like fuck and all this like garbage like rap stuff. It's like I can't defend that. It's impossible, and that's what I feel right now. It is impossible. How come this is our this? How come this is our standard for what a good quote harem is? Like how have we come to that? It's so
Well,
depressing.
I mean, to be fair, when you introduce a series like this, and you're like, I mean, in general, with the harem, to me, I'm just like, how the fuck are you gonna pull this off? Like,
I think the honestly the best plan.
people can barely pull off series that
Yeah, it's a
try and
regular
like pull
romance.
you
Yeah.
between like
Yeah.
two main heroines and make it even
having
remotely plausible, or like,
having four characters that
yeah,
are
now you're
all tense
like,
with each other.
yeah, but what if we add like fucking four more to that? Like,
Yeah.
no.
These Japanese writers are just not cut out for it. Yeah, but it's just like it makes me so like because I do feel like there is some sort of not like ideal, but like there are couple ways to get out, and one of the ways I think um, that I think isekai showed for all of isekai culture's flaws and sort of laziness, right? One good out that isekai showed for the harem genre was that in isekai they kind of transitioned quickly into the aftermath or the after story, right? There wasn't this sort of like will they, won't they, who, blah, blah, all this crap too much, right? Because a lot of them are just like, yeah, It exists. Like all the girls are there. All right, let's just kind of get on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that sense, it kind of helped out. Again, it's just like you can't do this, guys. Like we can't sit here and be like, yeah, but Tobin was the best hope of our generation. It was Will Smith and I Am Legend kind of shit. It's like we can't be at this stage, right? Like let's be a little bit better. Definitely the biggest disappointment in terms of like overall like interaction and reaction. Um, since I want to say Haganai or Boku wa Tomodachi ga Sukunai. Haganai's ending was worse, objectively worse, I think. But Kotobun's fan base was definitely much like 10 times more cancerous.
I mean,
But yeah.
as someone who just like actively avoids actual harem series in general, just because of this shit, like I keep seeing it happen, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
why do you
again,
keep
it's
doing
like
this?
it's like fuck, I'm just like stabbing myself in the fucking forearms like every time.
Everyone's,
God
I
damn
just see all these people like this time for sure.
this time for sure. The thing,
Said that last time.
the thing is, like, I don't want to, like, I just wish people would stop just like perking up like guinea pigs, or perking up like, sorry, not like guinea pigs, like prairie dog. Every time, um, a harem series throws them like a scrap of a bone. You know what I mean? Like, if a harem series is just like, oh, but they talk to this girl instead, and everybody's like fucking eyes immediately just go. What did you say? Is this about to be the best harem series? Like, just stop. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about Kotoba and about light novels being delayed. Just like generally about like shitty writers, Japanese writers, and the fan base who support them. So stop that shit. That was my call, and I think with that we'll wrap it up. Again, very unfortunate that Toast couldn't come and share his series with us, but again, hopefully we'll be able to, or probably certain that we'll be able to see him next episode. But yeah, one more episode after this to go for Winter 2020 season. And after that, we'll be doing our Spring 2020 preview. We're already at that moment. So watch the next episode. We'll have probably still a bunch of big series to cover. And again, obviously, our infamous anime preview shows. But yeah, if you like what we do, check us out here on twitch.tv/4PlayAnimecast. That's with the number 4. We're live stream our recordings of the podcast every other Saturday, starting from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk about the latest and greatest in Japanese animation media, anime, manga, light novels, web novels, visual novels, so much more here. Follow us here. Follow us on our social media on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter handle at 4PPAnimeCast, Facebook 4PlayerAnimecast, all with them. Follow us there for updates on when we're airing the content, so on and so forth. You can check us you can check out our archive VODs on the Twitch page as well as on our YouTube page for PlayerAnimecast. So whatever mode you want to browse these. And with that, we'll see you next time.